just got these beats at Applebee's a while ago.
I was getting ready to ask if you were already in the.
Yeah, I see you're wearing green today for St. Patrick's.
Hey man, the French Canadian like myself, I'm always in for any beer drinking holiday. That's an A+.
Yeah, you do drink some beer. I remember on ice. I used to live across the lake from you, and we'd go paddleboarding every once in a while, and you'd be out there barbecuing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he brought us beers to the dock.
I'm a good neighbor.
He is a good neighbor. He was a really nice guy.
No sense in living on the lake if you're not going to use it, right?
Well, that's
Might as
it.
well use
That's
it
it. Save from property tax. I'd move off the lake if that's the case.
Yeah. So anyway, Steve Letarte, known as Stevie.
That's a pretty official announcement.
Yeah.
I like how you did that.
Crew Chief of the Year plenty of times. Is that an award?
It should be. You could give it.
Crew Chief of the Year.
Give it to the guy that didn't win the championship.
Yeah, you have your own podcast now.
Podcast. That's been fun. Do Letarte on location, so I kind of take mine on the road, which is a little different. Anybody that knows me, I'm a long ways from sterile, so that's kind of the idea of the podcast is to go talk to fun people all around. So that's good. Doing the NBC stuff, which is busy. Even though it's not our half of the year yet, we're busy. We got NASCAR Americas every week, and then fantasy for NASCAR.com. I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
I was watching. What is it? NBC, the deal.
In NASCAR America.
Yeah, and I was like, man, me and Skip just don't. We don't really fight on this show, but you and Burton, you guys.
Everyone likes conflict.
Yeah, you guys bicker like two old married couples.
He's a driver.
Driver and a crew chief.
Driver and a crew chief.
But it's great. Like at the end, you guys kind of agree on something.
Well, or we can agree or disagree. This is what makes it good, right? Real disagreement is fun to watch. You can't make it up. When there are times that him and I agree on a subject. And the other half is when you disagree, it can't be a petty disagreement.
Yeah.
Like you got to be willing to listen to somebody else's opinion. And Jeff and I, he sees racing from a driver's view. I see it from a crew chief's view, and they don't always align.
I watched the one the other day when that guy put his hand down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, that was a great one because everyone at the table had a different opinion.
Well, yeah, so Rick was all wound up, our track and field guy. He thought it was, but he was mad about the wrong thing, right? So do I think the rule is silly? Yes, but I don't have a better suggestion.
Yeah.
And if you let me put a hand down, then I'm going to have you put two hands down. Next thing you know, you're going to have 1 foot on pit road, and you're going to be hanging out there to catch a tire. So whether you like it or don't like it, he kept saying it wasn't an advantage. That's not the rule. The rule is you just can't touch the dang asphalt.
Yeah.
So don't do it.
And there's a reason there's a rule there. And we get, as professionals, we get told week in and week out that you can't do that.
Right.
So, it sucks from the side of it, watching it on TV, and it having to be an issue that you talk about because it's like there's so much cool stuff going on, and we're talking about this guy's finger touching the ground. But it's a rule for a reason. Just like you said, if you're allowed to put a hand down, we're gonna. If you give us an inch, we're gonna take a mile. We've all done it.
Yeah, I mean, I made a living on reading the rules word by word and understanding where the loopholes were.
Makes sense. But yeah, I was just bummed we and Skip we don't fight enough on this show. I feel like that's what I took away from that.
Maybe we should start. Maybe we see stuff too the same.
I think we do.
That's what's fun about this sport, though, is that you can see stuff so every different way, and really nobody's really wrong and nobody's really right. There's so many different ways to do it.
No, Burton's wrong.
Is it?
Yeah. So see, you don't have enough conflict in your life.
Well, that's just my wife, I guess.
Listen,
we compromise too much.
Yeah.
The beauty of racing is there are so many stories within a race.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you watch the leader, the guy in fifth, how the guy got there, whether it's strategy, whether it's restarts. That's really the overwhelming thing from the TV side. So covering it for the fan isn't that hard. The more stressful part of my job is the other button, which talks to the production truck. Because they take a lot of feedback from Jeff and I, or Dale, or whoever's up in the booth, and say, hey, let's talk about Clint Boyer's having a great day. Go follow him. Or, go to Ryan Blaney, whoever we think the story should be. And it's hard when you look out the window and there's a bunch of guys running good.
Has that been a lot? I mean, obviously it's a lot different because we're so used to being a part of one team and one story. I mean, you watch around, but you don't really know exactly those other stories that are going on. So is that like super different
the biggest transition is I can be a fan of the race. So when you have just one car in the race, to be honest, there were a lot of races I would leave and so who won?
Yeah.
And how did that guy win? And was it a good pit call? Or you're totally just absorbed in what you're doing. So if you're racing for the win, you know who won and how they won because you were racing against them. But if you're back there, piddling around in 15th, it's the black hole, right? You are fist fighting with everybody back there to try to get up inside the top 10. And if you stay there the whole day, you don't even know what happened inside the top 5. Versus now, up in the TV booth, I get to watch the entire race, which is outstanding. I'm going to watch all the races anyway, so to sit around and talk about them is a pretty good deal.
Now you get paid to watch races.
Basically,
the whole thing.
It's a pretty good deal.
That's not bad.
Keep that a secret. Don't tell
I
people.
need
Everybody
that.
would want my job.
No one listens to this anyway, so it's not going to get out.
We'll keep it our secret.
But yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like this weekend, I come back and Hot Pockets is working me, and he's like talking to me about the race. I'm like, I have no idea that happened. I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're so singularly focused, and then you're focused on, like, even though we ran third this weekend, we had an issue where we had to come back and pit, and people think you did good, and there's stuff that you see that people don't, and it's just, you have such a different perspective when you're on the competitor side of it. And do you enjoy being on the TV side more? The stresses are different?
Oh, there's no the stress doesn't even count compared to what it was like to be. So I have a kind of an outgoing personality. I don't get too consumed by it. So there's very little to no stress in television in my world. I hear people say, "Man, you talk to 2 or 3 million people." I talk no different than I'm sitting here talking to you two, right?
Talking to a camera.
It's that simple. So I thought my old job was normal until I didn't have it. And then I woke up one day, I'm like, why do I feel so good?
Yeah.
Like, man, I was that stressed. And it was just so inherent every day of your life. That was the weight of performance for the sponsor, for the team, for the fans. You have these people that work for you, 80 employees. So their livelihood is pretty directly related to what kind of performance you have on top of the pit box. That was exhausting. I
Then you
loved
have a
it.
wife and kid at home.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
wife and
two
kids,
kids,
you know,
two
to
kids
go
and a
home
wife.
to.
And listen, I wouldn't trade.
Also that.
I wouldn't trade
Yeah.
a minute of crew chiefing. I loved everything I did, but it got to a point where I was not ready to be the guy to turn the lights on and off. And unless
Yeah.
you're going to lead that way, then you might as well not be in the sport. So then I got a great call and had a chance to go work for NBC, and it's been great. This is year 5, if I can believe it. It's 5th
Dang,
year.
really? Already?
5th year.
Guess so, huh?
I'm getting old, man. I'll be 40 in May.
Yeah.
It's
I'm,
spiraling.
I feel like I'm 50, so.
Well, that's because you work 24 hours a day.
I turned the lights on. Actually, today I did not turn the lights on.
Sometimes just leaves the lights off
Yeah.
and works in the dark.
I was,
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. The hardest thing to do is to lead a group because you have to do it. Talk's cheap is what I tell everyone.
I
So.
saw you wrote a book about leadership.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I wrote a book just telling all the stories about Dale and I and how a lot of it wasn't by just dumb luck. Right?
Yeah.
We had a plan with a lot of it that worked out. It was a fun project. Nate Ryan was the co-author because let's just be clear, I'm not talented enough to put it all into printed words.
I think
on
very
paper.
few people are, so.
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
feel
mean,
bad
I could
about
tell the
that.
story, and this is what we did. Nate and I would sit down, and he would interview me, and then he would write a chapter.
Wow.
And then I'd read it, and I don't like this or this or this, and he was good.
That's a long process, huh?
It took us longer than it should because it was never a priority.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a big believer.
That's good, though. I feel like that gives you more time to
It is.
figure all that stuff out, right?
It is. And the other I'm a big believer in, everyone. This happens to most people in the world. Don't forget where you really are employed, what you really do. And you look at, say, an athlete. They're the easiest because they probably have the most time. So you take an athlete, and instead of trying to be great at their craft, they are running a restaurant and an entertainment business and this business. And that's okay if you're LeBron and you have the rings to say, hey, I'm the best. But if you're not the best, then do you really need distractions off of what you're doing? So long-winded way of saying, TV and my NBC role has been and always will be my number one priority. So because of that, if we had a book appointment and I was supposed to go meet with Nate, but instead a story broke and I had to go do real work, the book just got put on the back burner.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, you have to prioritize. So it's the same way now, same way with the podcast. It's something I want to do, but it's more of a pet project than a new employment.
Yeah, second deal. I read it, by the way.
You read it?
Yeah, you gave me a book.
I didn't
read
think you'd read it,
I read it
though.
over Christmas break.
It's
on
a
the-
short
on the
read.
plane.
It's a 1 or 2 flighter. It's
Yeah, that's pretty much what it took me.
That's
yeah.
right. Couple
I
flights
read
to the
really
Midwest.
slow too, so not a good reader.
so
But it was good.
Listen, yeah, I didn't want to write War and Peace, right? I want to keep
Yeah.
it pretty simple.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have understood it if you did. So.
I did have to clean up some of Nate's words. If you ever talk to Nate very much, he's a thesaurus. You have to back down some of them.
You're like, I don't talk like that.
I could tell just by the way he talks that he would be like that.
I'm telling you, man. And the best part is I will literally, he'll be on NASCAR America and he'll say something. I'll be like, man, you have to tell me what you just said because I don't know what that word means.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say keep it simple. I used one of your quotes this year when we were racing.
You stole it?
Yeah, well,
It's
I said,
copyrighted. It
I
says it
said,
right on the
boys,
book.
Steve Letarte said this the best. We were kind of chasing the racetrack, and my buddy Jimmy Blewett, he gets a little crazy. He was crew chief and another kid. We were kind of all there together. And they said, well, we'll just go back to where we unloaded. And I said, boys, Steve Letarte said this best. I was standing with Jabbo, and I wasn't really part of the conversation, but I was there, and he said, it was in Chicago. We were waiting on the garage to open. And he said, man, I can't. He said, Dale Jr. can't figure out why we always go back to what we unload with. And he said, well, Dale, we've been working on that setup for a month. We didn't come here with what we thought was going to be bad, and then have
Right.
something we came here with what we thought was going to be best. And they were like, oh, that's a good point. I was like, yeah.
I mean, we have tens of people, 10 or 20 people working on what we think's going to be the best. If you think we're going to just wing it and be better, unless the track is different or the tire kind of threw you for a loop, you're pretty dang close coming off the truck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
It
sense.
shouldn't be that hard.
And that's where, the question comes in, are we practicing too much? And people get crazy, like they thought Atlanta was going to rain all weekend and we were just going to start. And I'm like, we do so much sim stuff
It
and
should
so much
be.
work on the K-rig and the 7-post that it's,
I'm team
you know
no
what you're going to have.
practice.
Yeah.
My son's 15 years old. We go up. We just had this conversation. We go up to Whitfield, Virginia for an indoor race. He runs Mini Outlaws, runs the open class, 450s and 500s.
Digging.
15.
Yeah.
We go out. We look at the track. All right. I mean, it's just made in this building, right? It's not a full. It's a temporary track. He goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Man, I don't know. It looks pretty short. I think I have to take one. Put one more tooth of gear on it." Okay. He goes out. He gets 45 seconds at speed. That's 4 laps. The next time on the racetrack is qualifying.
No big deal.
The next time is heats, and the next time is the main. So if a 15-year-old can run 45 seconds in practice, why does a professional race car driver goes back to the same track that he's gone to at least once this year or definitely last year? Why do they need 3 practices?
Good point.
Less practice. I'm team no practice.
Good point.
And here's why. Listen, money matters. And it matters even more. So people think that Hendrick and Gibbs and Penske have the advantage with no practice because they have the best tools. I disagree. I think that if you give everyone 3 hours worth of practice, the teams with the most money will not mess it up. They will all get good. And then they all run the same speed. Friday morning, cars come off the truck. Man, there's 0.4 of a second from 1st to 25th. By the time Saturday afternoon's done, there's 1/10 of a second from 1st to 35th. You're like, well, guess what? And everybody says there's no pass. I'm like, yeah, because they all run the same speed. You'd be better off having no practice and hoping that maybe, just maybe, Truex's guys missed it, and dang, the 35 car hits it. And do I think it's going to work out over 500 miles? No. Like, the better cars are still going to go to the front, but at least there'll be some coming and going over the course of the race.
I like that.
And you go 3 hours of practice, and it's like, hey, guess what? Where are we going this week? Fontana. So don't even watch practice and let me know that all 3 Penske cars are pretty good. Kyle Busch is decent. Kyle Larson's really good on old tires. You can write this. It's no
Same
big.
The fun thing that has been going on this year is like you look at like the 3 car and how fast they've been in practice.
Yeah.
And then like Atlanta, they said in the truck, like, just watch that 3 car at the start because he's coming backwards. And like so that's been the fun thing to watch with this new package. But yeah, just like you said, and I think Brad Keselowski said the best a couple of years ago. He said, yeah, this was fun, but give it a couple weeks and we'll mess it up because that's our job. You find every avenue to get an advantage and make your car faster, and then everybody does the same thing.
Yeah.
You know that you see something on one car and you have it the next week. So,
Technology is so good that the review process on Monday has kind of half ruined the question marks because there's no question mark. Everything is measured, right? The pit stops are broken down to every step. Every lap is broken down. Every metric is run on the driver's performance. Every stone to turn over to find speed they've turned over. So, that makes it harder to get beat when you're good and harder to catch up when you're behind, right? It's just hard to make gains.
Well, when you have helmets that weigh so much, like we do now, that's a big factor.
Greg's burnt about the helmets.
wrong?
Everybody's wanting to get away from helmet
Everybody
paint.
wants light helmets, so they're like, that 2/10 of paint, no, take it
He
off.
took that. He's taking that personally.
It's rough.
Yeah, I get
pays
it.
my bills. I'm gonna live in a cardboard box.
So,
eating
but
ramen
there's
noodles
still.
soon.
So hold on a minute. There's still a finish on the helmet. Like nobody's helmet's unfinished. Even the carbon has clear on it.
Keselowski,
No, he doesn't.
he just has stickers and no No clear.
A lot of people are going to pinstripe because they don't put clear over it, and it's just
Good thing we got a pinstripe artist out there.
that's it. Ahead of the curve.
Stewart is gonna make bank this year.
Let me just be clear, man. There's still a cool factor that's required in what you're doing.
Look good, feel good, right?
Dang right.
Yeah.
Man, a question that I get a lot, and I feel like, where are you from? Maine originally?
Maine, yep.
Now, did you grow up in Maine or did you move here?
I moved here when I was like 14.
And then you started at Hendrick at 16.
16, sweeping the floor.
And then
Literally sweeping the floor.
Swept the floor. So I started at Hendrick Motorsports in the summer, May of 95. And I became Jeff Gordon's crew chief in September of 2005.
and there was a lot.
10 years. 10 years of sweeping the floor, and they said, let's make
So
that
you're the
janitor.
guy.
This
Good
guy's
luck.
a good
Let's make that
floor sweeper.
custodian.
Let's see if he
the,
can make
Yeah,
some calls.
and we won Martinsville, third race together.
That's right, yeah.
Well, so you get a lot of questions I get a lot of people up north that run the modified tour and want to move down here, and they're like, well, what do you do? And it's so much different now. Hell, I started in 2007, and my goal in 2007 was to be a tire, like Todd Ziegler. Do you know Todd Ziegler?
Mm-hmm.
Was to be like him, tire changer, car chief. And it's so much different now. I went through the same progression you did, and I roomed with, in 2011 there, I roomed with Jabbo for a year.
Yep.
And I traveled with them, and I realized then that I kind of had to make a decision. Do you want to be a car chief, and do you want to be that tapped in all the time? Or do you want to be a picker guy? They kind of came to me like, you got to pick one. And since I met my wife and realized I'm going to start a family, I went, this is the first year that I haven't worked in the shop. I quit my shop job and just pit crew only. And it just, you can't do that anymore. And you did that. You pitted.
I was
you
a
were
tire carrier back before you had to be an athlete. Like 99 through probably 2002
I'm
or
still
3.
cheating by without being an athlete.
So now I don't know. I'm really definitely not an athlete. But yeah, I know I did both. I give this argument though because everybody all the time says, I want to work in racing, but it's not like it used to be, and I call it a little BS. So I'm a believer that everybody wants a safety net. Well, what comes with a safety net is not a lot of opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like if you want to work in racing, pack your stuff in a U-Haul, drive your butt to either Charlotte or Indy, and whether it's the local bar, the restaurant, the lunch spots, it's if you think you're gonna go from, some guy in the Midwest that wants to work in racing to, the 22's road crew, no,
Doesn't
right?
happen.
Like you got to pry your way in. Like Millbridge runs every Wednesday night. There are 10 to 20 decision makers for race teams that are there every week, right? Crew chiefs, sons race, drivers race, be in the area. Do what you want to do. Like, if you're going to make movies, you don't live in Nebraska.
Yes.
You go to L.A. That's if you want to work in racing, you either need to be in Indy or Charlotte.
Yep. That's
That's
what I
the
tell people.
first thing I tell people too. You can't live in New Jersey and have a job in North Carolina. You got to move. The way I got my job at Roush is I met a guy at Subway in Mooresville here, and I said, "Hey, you got a shirt on? Are you guys hiring? Give me your resume." And I got that's how it started.
My brother-in-law owns Champion Tire and Wheel. They haul all the wheels and the pit boxes and all that. He got his start in racing because he sat next to a Goodyear guy at a Panthers game in the mid-'90s. My brother-in-law, he was young at the time, an engineer, and the guy said, hey, we're looking for part-time guys to come take tire temps on the weekend for Goodyear. Want to do it? Sure. So he started traveling, built houses during the week, started traveling on the weekend, created his own business building houses, said, hey, I think there's a chance somebody could be a little bit more professional, hauling all the pit boxes and wheels. Now he's got, I don't know how many trucks, 30, 40 trucks, hauls
haul
us
everything.
A ton.
because he sat next to a guy at a football game 25 years ago.
And
Like,
then
that's how it works.
And then they put billboards on the side of the truck.
Yeah,
Ingenious.
well, that's because they're not worried about the weight, like the helmets.
Ingenious.
Sure, there's extra weight available in the trucks. They don't worry about all that.
Yeah.
They just wrap them.
I'm sure if they wanted
See how I
paint,
took it right back there? He's a little sensitive still.
He's sensitive
I'm
about
about to
it.
walk out. I can't. It
He's
stresses me
he's
out
gonna cry.
every day.
Come on, man. You got to come up with cool things to paint. It doesn't have to just be helmets.
I don't know. These look good, right?
They look good. Listen, my son has 2 of
These
them.
should be in Victory Lane.
If he didn't drag them off the asphalt, but
He wrecked one pretty good.
he did wreck one. His new one's
It
pretty
was
popular.
rough.
They like his new
At
one.
the Motorplex, he was
Oh.
in his own cart. And
Flat, wide open through 2, caught a bumper,
Rotex?
upside down. Yep.
yeah.
Oh, that's sketchy.
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
Drug far enough, he drug almost through the corner of the visor.
So you race him, or are you just out there?
He did race.
Oh,
now he's
gosh.
dirt only.
Yeah. Cage.
Only.
Cage.
No more asphalt stuff in the future. I saw you were
We went to Legend Cars, but listen, like a bad dad that I am, I'm like, we're not gonna go practice. We're just gonna go do it. Well, that field is pretty full of the summer shootout, so my kid
3
was
laps
like,
of practice, we got it.
yeah, so he was like, I don't like asphalt, Dad. So he's a dirt racer.
He's
so
a
which is
hell of a
fine.
dirt racer.
He loves it, man. He loves dirt racing. So we'll probably run 35 races this year. We'll run 25 at Millbridge. We'll run the fair. We'll probably go to Knoxville. They have a race during the Knoxville Nationals
Used
down
to be
the
the
street.
Got Milk deal or something, right?
Yeah, I
Back
don't.
in the day.
So we'll run 30 or 35 races. We have a
Can
good
bring
time.
him to Red Bluff. Would you ever go
So
out there?
I'm gonna go out there hopefully next year and rent one of Larson's rides.
It looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
That place, that
I've never
Cycle
been
Land
there.
track that place looks pretty sweet.
Yep.
But man, they were lucky to grow up where they did. It seems like.
Listen, I'm a big believer in, if your dad's a golfer, you're a golfer. If
Oh,
your
yeah.
dad's a racer, you're a racer. I think all of us are a product on kind of what our families do, or at least I am. So my dad still works part-time at Ganassi. So it's all I know is
Were
racing.
you ever going to have a career racing?
No, so truth is I raced go-karts in North Carolina when I was like 13, 14.
Yeah.
I had just moved here, so maybe 14. And I was all right. I'd win a little bit here or there. And I had to miss. I don't even remember why. I had to miss a couple races because kid stuff got in the way. And my dad, of course, was going to miss them. So we put the Mac Tool Guys kid in, if you can believe it. And he knew.
Robbie Ben.
And so Robbie's father's brother. So Robbie's uncle
So close.
Okay.
You're pretty
was
close.
the tool
He's
guy
the
at
Mac guy.
Hendrick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
his kid got in there, and he won like everything. And I think I was like, I don't think I'm that good. I'm out. Here's the problem. I work with the best drivers in the
I'll
world.
just work on them.
Every corner I chop, I just can't get my hands and feet to do it.
Yeah.
I know, I've watched a lot of races. I could stand on top of the truck and I could sit there with you and be like, man, it looks like you're a little shallow. Move your entry up a foot and this. And I'm perhaps not wrong, but be clear, I cannot get my hands and feet to do that or I would be a driver.
I feel like it's a lot different when you're getting that perspective of the behind the wheel too. Watching it from the spotter stands pretty easy to figure out. When you actually have to drive that thing in at 200 miles per hour, it's a lot.
My kid
It's a little
pisses me off
different.
because we iRace all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm either too old or something, but my eyes aren't trained like him. So we'll be truck racing in Atlanta, and we have a simulator, and he'll be standing behind me. And I'll roll it into the top of 1 or 2, back to wide open. And as soon as I get back to wide open, he's like, Dad, you're loose. Man, what are you talking about? And 300 feet later, I wreck. And he's like, you didn't see that way back there? I'm like, no, I just don't have the sense of what's going on. But
It's these younger kids too, man. You got a screen in front of their face. All
It's
the time.
weird racing. Does he have the wheel with the feedback?
yep.
That was weird to me because I didn't have it first, and I'm like, wrecked. Like
Yeah,
what?
Right.
Because you feel when you race, you feel it with your ass, and it's like,
Yeah, if you don't have a
kinda
wheel, you
weird.
got to go off sound, and it's way too
Now
hard.
though, the dirt, he runs the dirt all the time.
I tried to run the Chili Bowl the other day, and I'm not good.
So I can't run the Chili Bowl, but I can run Knoxville pretty good.
I'm not good at
With a sprint
either
car?
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could run sprint cars all day on that deal.
So I don't know. I now when I say I run Knoxville, my lap time's pretty good, but man, I use a groove and a half.
Yeah.
I enter on the bottom and I exit somewhere
You're
in
not,
the middle.
You're not on the wall riding it up
yeah,
there.
no. There's no cushion in my future.
Those guys that race sprint cars full time are sick.
They are, but I have my son loves dirt and I love racing, but I don't want to say concern, but man, it's like the sprint car world needs just something to happen to help them get organized on some of the safety stuff.
Right.
Car, track, speed.
I agree with that.
I'm not a dirt guy, so I don't want to speak for their behalfs, but as a fan, it seems like the car doesn't match the speed, doesn't match the facility in general.
Yep.
So that, man, that's because they are. I'm gonna tell you, the guys that strap into those things and roll off on Knoxville, they are a way bigger man than I am.
Yep.
I've had that
Steel
talk
down
with
there.
LaJoy quite a bit, both Corey and Randy, because Corey's pretty passionate about as much as he doesn't want to touch the seat stuff and the safety stuff, he's pretty passionate about it. And Randy, you pretty much know what Randy's feeling before he even says anything because he wears his heart on his sleeve. But yeah,
That's
we've had
the nicest way I've ever heard that.
yeah, they do a lot for
So
me.
every time my kid flips, I get a text from him. Like my kid's not done flipping
What
yet.
kind of seat you got?
I got a joy seat.
Okay.
And he'll text me right away. He'll be like, "Hey, everything look good? Let me know. Is this held up and that held up?" Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but we've had that conversation, and it's tough because nobody wants to add weight to them cars. It's like Corey got in a big fight with Kevin Swindell because he's like, man, I love watching the Chili Bowl, but it's not 1960. Why are they pushing these cars off? Put a damn starter on there. He's like, you don't understand, Kevin. And that's where it's tough to talk to sprint car guys because they do have such a good thing going and they don't want to change. But man, I just hate to see them lose so many good guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's just listen. Racing is my passion. Always has been. I'll watch whether we're racing lawnmowers or sprint cars or cup cars. I love it. I love the individualized. Like I love when I put my son down in there and straps in. And so I'll tell a story. We go out there at Millbridge and we're fastest in practice. Sit on the pole. It rains before the heats. They roll it in the best they can. It's a soupy mess. And this is back when we're in the 250s. They drop the green, and my man's like he's never driven before. We up, down, through, in the fence. Like next thing you know, we barely make the A. And I pull him aside, and he's all worked up. And I'm like, what is the problem? Well, the track, da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, timeout. I said, listen, you've been around the best. He's grown up around Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon. Have you ever heard Jeff Gordon talk about the track? No. You ever heard Jimmy Johnson talk about the track? No. I said, it's the same for everyone. So be clear. I'm your dad. I love you. If you can't see, pull in the infield. It's just a race. We're not here to get anybody hurt, right? I was like, but if you can see, then you have to mentally be ready. Your vision's going to be awful. The track's going to be sucky. The traction's bad. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rut. If you're not ready for all that, we'll leave. Proudest day of my life, man. We dropped the green. He starts like 14th, and they all fire to the bottom. He bounces the boards, gets up to like 6th, 5th, 4th, gets all the way to 2nd, catching the guy for the lead, and just runs out of time. And I was like, man, what do we change in the car? How'd it drive better? He's like, nope, it didn't. I told myself I had 10 tear-offs and 20 laps. So he goes, it was tear-off, wipe, tear off, wipe every time by the start-finish line.
Smart kid.
But it's to your point. What I love about racing is when I buckle him in there, I can't help him. His mom can't help him. The mechanic can't help him. Like it teaches you about life, right? Like if you have a problem, it's not easy. And how I think life is and how it should be is the guy behind you, he wants what you have. And you want what that guy has. And that's all healthy, right? It's not, but that's racing. And there's no blueprint on how it should be done. And if you try to work within this little box, you're not going to be as good as the guy that's willing to work outside the box. So that's why we race. That's why we do what we do. And he is passionate about it. But to your point, there's no such thing as safe, but there is such a thing as safer.
Yes.
And I'm always a proponent to safer. And as a crew chief, we needed to be protected from ourselves, right? Because my job is to go fast. It should be worried about safety, but my brain's only so big, and a big percentage of it was filled with how do I go fast, not how do I make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's where those sanctioning
The
bodies
sanctioning
and the
body,
teams.
for sure.
I mean, that's what you get paid to do. So that's.
You look at the
we're gonna
leaps
do.
and strides NASCAR made in the mid-2000s with
unbelievable.
softballs, and then even the COT car and all that stuff, and how nice you see what. I think the first test of it was Michael McDowell, Texas.
Oh my goodness!
Nobody
I
expected
just showed
him to
that
get
video
out
to somebody the other day,
Rough.
and they were like, and for some reason the one I pulled up on YouTube was 2 laps, and they were watching a lap, and they were ready for a wreck, and then the first time lap came in, he's like, I don't know, oh my god, like up into the fence and comes piling down.
Well,
the
it couldn't have
banking.
happened to a bigger guy either. I mean,
Oh.
he's humongous.
Yeah, but he jumped
even though
out.
he did get tossed this weekend by Daniel Suarez. But
He didn't get tossed by Daniel
No
Suarez as
big
bad as
deal.
Daniel Suarez got tossed by Blickenster.
Blickensterfer come out
hood.
of nowhere.
One
Boom.
hand on the hood, smile.
I just can't believe any of the 10 guys didn't jump in there and help him.
So let's
That's
just
what
be
I was
clear,
like-
though. Come on, I got a bigger question than that. If they set odds for who is going to be in the first fight of the season, what were the odds Michael McDowell's name was going to be on the list?
McDowell got into a yelling match with Joey at Daytona. I was thinking about it the other day. He's like the nicest guy ever.
The nicest.
Christian guy.
Nicest can be.
Can't beat it.
Gosh
And he's
darn it,
yeah.
Steve. That's what he tell me. I'm
Been
like,
in two scuffles
Yeah.
this year. Well, one fight and one argument.
Hey, listen, but I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I will say that his crew chief was already arguing with Matty D's crew chief at the wall. So I don't know what all went down, but some stuff went down on the last lap of qualifying.
Oh,
So if
man.
you go back and watch the video, Wheeler is already talking to Drew like something went down there too.
So
telling you,
I
they're-
didn't catch that part.
Paul, go back. Paul
Yeah.
Harvey. The story will come out. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, the rest of the story's
this
coming.
This is why you're at NBC.
I think they
telling
need
you.
to
We are
make
not.
the qualifying. I think they need to make qualifying just 2 minutes.
Oh,
Just go. 2 minutes. That's all you get.
I
Because
mean, if
they're
there was
sitting
stuff
there
like
is
that every week, I'd watch qualifying more.
it was outstanding.
It's
was
great.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm excited about where the sport's
And listen,
going.
and here's the thing. People go, they can't. I agree. You can't let them stand there toe-to-toe swinging at each other, right, every week. But he went over there to have a talk, and McDowell took him to the ground. No harm, no foul. I mean, that's fine.
It was nothing. It
It was
wasn't a
a-
UFC match.
It was A+ move.
They got broke up.
Yeah,
No,
it was
no
great.
blood was.
I like it.
Sent.
Even a little blood. It's fine.
I mean, who was it? Logano and
Were you in that fight at Texas with Keselowski?
No, man, that was way past my time.
Was it?
I was at the 88 or maybe TV. Probably the 88. What
Have
year
you been
was
in,
that?
have you been in a good brawl?
Were you at the 88 when Pigeon went out there on pit road yelling at?
I was on the 24.
Oh,
You notice I missed
man.
all of them. I'll tell you where I was. This is no joke. Remember when Gordon shoves Kenseth at Bristol?
Yeah,
I got that fine because
Oh.
I was the crew chief and I was supposed to be responsible for my driver. What kind of crap is that?
that's crappy.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
What are you talking to for that?
So no, truth be known is me, Reiser, Kenseth, Gordon goes up in the trailer, and Mr. Helton rolls up in there, and he starts reading us the riot act, or the drivers mostly, and Gordon, I don't want to say disrespectfully, but basically like, Mike, that's not how I see it. I mean, he's a multi-time champion, and Mike calmly stopped him, looked at Reiser and I, and said, "You two could leave. I never come out of a truck faster. Like, you know what? This is a driver problem.
Yeah.
I'm out of here."
Were you there when he fought Burton or shoved Burton?
Oh yeah. I
That
was
was
crew
you.
chief on that one too. Yeah.
Oh man, that makes it awkward now.
You know what? That's great. It's great because I tell Burton, I'm like, "That's it."
Why did Burton hook him? I always wondered that.
I
And he
asked
acted
him
like
that.
he didn't.
And,
He acted like,
and
oh, I
even
didn't mean
this
to.
day, so this is what he tells me. He claims like they were, I don't know, swapping spots or whatever, and then his claim is that he was trying to door him. Like he was gonna go up and be like,
This
run
is
into
under
him.
caution, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yellow comes out, and like I think he went up to like door us and just flat misjudged it and caught us in the bumper.
Dude, if you want to fight, if you ever want to just get into a fight at the racetrack, you right rear hook somebody like that.
Yeah, under
That's
yellow. and
That's
wreck
bench
those
clearing.
cars.
That's Donnybrook. You're
Oh,
fighting.
yeah.
But golly, I always wonder. I'm like, because it was like under caution, right?
Yeah,
and I
that's
was
right.
there, and I'm like, what was that? Did
Yeah.
you get a flat? What happened?
Nope.
That's so crazy that you.
He went Virginia redneck on us right there in one moment.
We need to have him in here. To,
Burton?
yeah,
You
to
should have him and
explain.
Ward together and see if everybody could keep them apart.
I don't know if you
See if
could
you
understand that whole conversation.
Ward? No,
Yeah.
you couldn't. That's why it'd be great.
I've always wanted to go to that family Thanksgiving. And just
I
kinda,
asked Burton. I said, "Hey, how do you and Ward talk so different?" His story is that Ward grew up on the south side of the house.
It's
I
just,
said, "That's the biggest I've never heard." What a mess!
Oh, man.
Goodness.
What a mess!
Well, what's the future hold? I guess just more NBC.
More ABC. So
More
I
dirt racing.
dirt racing with my kid. Fox has the first half, so we'll go on air in June when it's our turn to start covering live. I got to do the Rolex.
How was that?
So this is what I love about NBC. Is they are recommitting to motorsports. We now have IMSA, full IndyCar, NASCAR, and Supercross.
Supercross, yeah. I love it this year.
So I haven't been to a Supercross race yet, but I got to do the Rolex.
But we need to go.
Yeah,
Should go.
I wish I would have done Indy. That was pretty cool. Did you see Tomac's helmet there?
It was
They
pretty.
paint their helmets.
I did, yeah. I saw he won with the Dale Earnhardt helmet this
And
weekend.
then
at
did a
Daytona.
burnout.
And then the burnout.
And our Dale Earnhardt helmet was a lot better. I was pretty bummed.
Oh, the one you did for Jeffrey.
Yeah.
That was good.
That one got some good coverage though.
It got covered by everybody. You guys killed it.
Yeah, it was good. It
awesome.
was great.
You get to go to Indy races.
So I did Rolex, and I'll do the Indy 500. So I'll go to Indy
I
500.
want to go. I want to see NASCAR.
I've never been to an Indy 500, so
Dude,
weird.
I heard it's crazy. Well, because obviously the Indy cars are right in there with us.
yeah, right.
You know,
right.
we all kind of train together and share gym and a pit stop area, and it's so crazy. We get paid more. Well, when I worked in the shop, you get paid more of a bonus at Penske if you win the Indy 500 than if you win the IndyCar Championship. It's just you get
Or
more.
as you should.
Yeah,
It's the Indy
Big race.
500.
yeah. It's so
They're already promoting that like hardcore.
it's.
Listen, we're proud that it's on NBC. I mean, it's the first time it's been on NBC. It's So here's the thing.
Do you need someone to go and hold your things there? 'Cause I
No,
can-
I'm
I
good
can,
there. I've had a lot of offers,
I can
surprisingly.
go. Yeah.
But here's my here's my story though. I love racing, and I love NASCAR. But the Indy 500 is still the Indy 500. It's the most famous race in the world. I don't care if it's Formula One. I don't care what country you're in. If you talk to people, they all know the Indy 500. And I've never been there. Jay Fry's a good friend of mine. He's invited me a bunch of times. I've always had stuff to do. So now I get to go work, which is going to be fun. I'm ready to talk to them. Those IndyCar guys are, man, they just come from such different backgrounds. I find it
It's
fascinating.
very different than
Yeah.
NASCAR.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think it's cool just to get. We get so caught up in NASCAR in this area, you know. Just it's cool to go to other types of racing and just see how they do it.
Listen, the Rolex, if you ever get a chance, the Rolex, forget the drivers for a minute. Every car you've dreamt of is there.
Yeah.
Like you walk through and you go, oh, Ford GT, oh, Corvette, oh, cool, BMW, oh, Ferrari,
No big deal.
oh, Porsche. Oh, I mean, it's like the who's who of race cars were at the Rolex. And then you throw the drivers in. It's the who's who of race car drivers.
Just all stars.
And
field there.
there's something about it. It reminds me of the senior PGA. So I'm a big golfer, right? Playing a bunch of pro-ams. the PGA guys, they're nice, but they're a little bit not fun to play with because they're trying to like make a living.
Yeah.
And they're stressed.
Yeah.
The senior guys,
You are not there making a living.
the senior guys are kind of like they are almost like, can you believe they're still paying us? This
Yeah.
is awesome. Hey, let's have a beer and play golf. I mean, they're great. That's what the Rolex is like. And what I mean by that is they all take it very serious. I'm not discounting what they're doing, but they are just enjoying life. Like Montoya's walking around there, like, and he almost has that appearance like, I'm thankful I still get to race. What is it, 12 times a year?
Yeah.
Like, it's a great deal.
Go do the
Those cars
the
are
Rolex.
crazy.
Oh, they're
I
great.
went. I gotten it when they first got it to Penske.
Yeah.
They had it out there pit practice with us too. I'm like, I gotta sit in this thing, and it's the actual race car they practice on. It is so small inside of there and so sketchy because it's like a tub.
Oh yeah. There's
It's
no extra room.
they're like an Indy car with a full body.
That's really right,
What
yeah.
they're like.
But it was good. That was a good time. So now I'm looking forward to go to Indy.
Sweet.
I want NASCAR to go to a street course one day. I don't know which one would be cool, but I think it would be.
It's tough because they're just such heavy kind of lumbering
Oh, yeah.
vehicles. It has to be a sweeping street course. And here's the other problem. It's a little bit easier to contain an Indy car than a Cup car at
Yes.
180
True.
miles an hour.
Yes.
Like the
That's what
amount
I've
of-
always told people. You're gonna have a cup car flying through a building. You can't really do
Maybe-
that.
But you could do a really cool. So when you talk about, hey, what's different about the let's talk about All-Star, right? What I don't like about the All-Star race is we don't need another race. We need the All-Star weekend. Love
Yeah.
the All-Star weekend. Not trying to knock that. The stars, but I'm fine with no more qualifications, no more you get in from winning. Okay, can we just call it like we see it? The All-Star weekend should be through All-Stars, and they should be voted in like they are in every other sport, right? Your top 15 set a number, right? They could do fan events. They could compete by driving. This is where I think the street course comes in, right? So what I think we could do is we could picture a IMSA version of the manufacturers we currently run. So maybe it's the Supra, the Camaro, and the Mustang, right? Put that out there, a roll cage street version, make it look, bring a street version, make it and race it through the streets of Charlotte. Now that's an All-Star
down.
weekend I would go to.
Could do
Have
some
a
cool helmets for
bring
that.
the pit crew event back for inside.
I'm down with
Bring-
that.
No,
so
those guys
here-
get paid too much.
But here's what I'm saying, though.
I'm
Make
all
it
right
a
with
fan event. Make it a fan event, right? So the pit stops are something the fans can do. They mess around with, right? So same thing. I wouldn't have the pit crews. They would have to get voted as well. And I'd have like 4 tire changes for this, for that, and they'd come and they would talk to the fan. Like, it needs to be a fan thing because the Major League Baseball All-Star game is the home run derby and the pitching against batters. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Everything.
not a baseball game. It's an event.
It's not a
Yeah.
race with half.
It's
the
like an
cars. It's a normal
activation.
race.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
an
It's
activation.
an activation. So
Yeah.
what we need to have is an All-Star weekend that's an activation.
I like it.
I agree.
You should be
And-
president of the NASCARs.
Well, I think that's what's exciting right
Great
now about
ideas.
where the sport is. I think that from the top down, they're starting to realize that some stuff's a little antiquated.
I
And-
agree.
And I think that if you look at like what you were just saying about the manufacturer cars, if you look at the talks and what's coming out about the 2021 car, we could get back closer to that, and it could be pretty exciting. Because at the end of the day, we need we need the manufacturers to have more skin in the game because that's where the money comes from.
The manufacturers are the key to the whole thing,
Yep.
and they have to be happy. So we need to find out what makes them happy and stick with that. It's not brain surgery; it's sports. Let's call it like we see it. It's supposed to be entertaining, and in today's world where everybody needs entertainment, I think it should survive. I think, look, you look at the numbers. Every weekend, this last weekend, this is an argument I have. Everybody wants to write the sky's falling.
Everyone
This
on
weekend?
Twitter.
The
What was wrong?
The Arnold Palmer Invitational. That's a big PGA tournament was on. Duke played Carolina. NASCAR still ruled the
All of it.
TV ratings. Like, so, listen, we can always say what it could have been.
Yeah.
You're going to spend your whole life, if you want to spend your whole life talking about what you could have had, you're not going to have a very good life. How about talk about what you have? And what I've learned is NASCAR has a very large fan base.
Huge.
I mean, it's huge, right? So, man, I love it. I get to make a living.
I don't-
Beats the hell. I've never had a real job. I don't think I'd make it. So
Yeah.
You can go back to sweeping floors. We have a pretty big floor out here. You could
I could listen.
come on the weekends.
There's some days though when you were crew chief, I'm like, damn, I might just think about getting a real job here.
I'm telling you. Like, actually, it was more like, damn, I hope I don't need to get a real job. Like, I hope this works.
I'd have that in the middle of the race sometimes after a pit stop, like, oh god, who can I call?
Who was harder to work for, Gordon or Junior?
So neither was harder than the other.
It's completely different.
Completely different. So here's the thing. When I was Gordon's crew chief, I crew chiefed on his team.
Yeah.
And when I become Dale's crew chief,
I
he
read
drove
this.
my car. You read it.
I read
Did
it.
you have to build a team when that 88 team?
I
came
had.
up?
So what everybody doesn't realize is I didn't move. We swapped drivers.
So you just kept
So
your.
I kept my same office, same cars, same people, same everything. All we literally did was ship uniforms and seats over there, and they sent Dale's uniforms and seats over to me.
Who was your car chief on that? Did Gibson ever car chief for you? I guess my question.
No, he left. I worked for him.
Okay.
My car chief through that transition was probably Travis Mack was.
Who's the
Burdett
crew chief
was.
now?
Burdett was. They're all.
They're all
like,
great, and that's
Kevin
what's cool about the
Mendering
Hendrick
was
deal.
my engineer. So let's look at Junior Motorsports. Mendering was my engineer. Travis Mack was my mechanic. Jason Burdett was my car chief, and Dave Ellens was an engineer. So I had them all.
So all the crew chiefs at Junior Motorsports.
Had them all.
And that's what's cool about Hendricks is they've you look at guys that came through that system that either went somewhere else, crew chiefed and came back, or were crew chiefing other places that you don't see a lot of other places if you don't have an engineering degree or something else. That's kind of been a transition that most teams have gone to, and that's what's cool about Hendrick is it giving you guys opportunities to grow in the sport.
Oh yeah, man. I'm indebted to him. Listen, I'm just a kid from a small town in Maine that got lucky as hell. I somewhat know how to make a car turn left. It was a pretty good deal.
Not bad.
I mean, I can't paint helmets.
I mean, you could. You can. It's never too late.
I could tape and
Can't
decal.
be too hard.
I can tape and decal.
Taping is the worst part of it. Yeah.
That's why I don't tell people I can do it until now.
Come in.
CDLs. I don't have a CDL if anyone asks, and I don't know how to do body work.
I
Those are
don't
the
know.
2 rules at the race shop.
I don't have a truck if you need to move. Well, thanks for coming in today. It was very nice of you.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Man, this is quite the setup right here. I feel like I need to up my podcast game.
We're big time since MRN picked us up.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. So this is the 3rd year we've been doing it. So you'll get there eventually. I like how yours is.
I'm
yours
sure
is
you have
going,
more
though.
listeners than us already, though.
Yeah.
I don't
Which is
know.
fine.
So I didn't do it for popularity or listeners. I did it for practice. I like long form, and I know it's hard to believe. I like talking to people. So mine's on the road though. Mine's not like you. I don't have a fancy couch. Mine's a suitcase, and we take it where people
I
want.
love going to like the hotel down there in Daytona or like a Waffle House. Like that's the coolest thing.
It's gotta be
ever,
good.
man.
It's gotta be good. We're gonna have some good ones. I'm working on trying to get Chase at the pool hall in Dawson.
that'd be cool.
If I could do that, that'd be fun. Maybe I could talk him into running the siren.
It's just better like talking to somebody in their atmosphere. You know, everybody wants to call into this deal. I'm like, no, you gotta.
Maybe I should
come in.
Maybe I should just sit on my dock, handing out beers
You
as
could
people
do
come
that.
down the lake.
Just here, grab his headset, drink a beer, and then float on.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
All right, man.
Good
Yeah.
times.